Let me tell you something that sounds like a contradiction, but it's a terrifying, scientific fact. The most serene, beautiful, and calming sight on our planet, a calm ocean under a clear blue sky with those gentle lapping waves is, in many cases, the visual proof of a system slowing down, stagnating, and potentially dying. This isn't poetic metaphor. This is oceanography. That pristine, flat, azure water you dream of on a screensaver. In the tropics, it often means a lack of nutrients and ocean currents, creating a marine desert. The very clarity of that water signifies an absence of the microscopic plant life called phytoplankton, which is the foundational base of the entire ocean food web. Think of it this way. A forest is vibrant and alive not because it's perfectly still and tidy, but because it's a messy, swirling ecosystem of growth, decay, and constant movement. A perfectly manicured, silent lawn is a biological dead zone in comparison. The ocean operates on the same principle. That calmness can be a sign of what scientists call ocean stratification. As the planet warms, the surface layer of the ocean gets warmer and lighter. This warm layer sits on top of the colder, denser, nutrient-rich water below, acting like a lid. That lid prevents the natural upwelling, the process where deep, cold water rises to the surface, bringing with it a soup of nutrients from decomposed matter. It's this upwelling that fertilizes the surface, allowing phytoplankton to bloom. These tiny organisms do two things of cosmic importance. First, they feed everything from minuscule zooplankton to the largest whales in a cascading food chain. Second, and this is the shocking part we often ignore, they are responsible for producing over half of the Earth's oxygen. More, all the rainforests combined. So when you see that calm, clear, beautifully blue ocean, you might be looking at a system that is being starved of its lifeblood. The data is stark. A 2021 study published in Nature showed a consistent global decline in phytoplankton productivity in several major ocean basins, correlated directly with increased surface layer warming and stratification. The gentle waves are not stirring the pot enough. They are just rocking a system that is slowly falling asleep. This isn't about fear-mongering, it's about understanding the language of the planet. The ocean doesn't communicate with words, it communicates with color, with movement, with temperature. That calm blue is its whisper, and right now, that whisper is saying it's struggling to breathe. And if the ocean struggles to breathe, the mechanism that generates the very air we breathe is compromised. We are intrinsically linked to those waves in a way that defies our land-based intuition. Every second breath you take comes from the ocean. So the next time you see that idyllic picture, the postcard perfect scene of tranquility, I want you to see it with new eyes. See it not just as a destination for vacation, but as a patient, a vital organ of our planet, whose vital signs we are only just learning to read properly. The calm is not the problem itself. It is a symptom. It's the fever that indicates a deeper infection. And this realization changed everything about how we view our role, because the causes of this stratification, primarily anthropogenic climate change from greenhouse gas emissions and specific types of pollution that alter water chemistry, are squarely within human influence. The lid we have placed on the ocean is one we forged in our factories, our power plants, and our lifestyles. The connection is direct and the timeline is accelerating. This is the profound and unsettling paradox we must sit with. Our symbol of ultimate peace is showing us the quiet early signs of a planetary scale disruption. Understanding this is the first, non-negotiable step, because you cannot solve a problem you don't comprehend the true nature of. The ocean's beauty has always been its power, but now, in its stillness, we are seeing a different kind of power, the power to show us the consequences of our global actions in the most viscerally beautiful way possible. It's a silent alarm ringing across millions of square miles. And it's time we learn to listen to its specific, urgent frequency before the calm we see becomes a permanent and lifeless stillness. Now, let's dive literally and figuratively beneath that calm, glassy surface to the world it's hiding. Because the real story of ocean health isn't written on the surface, it's written in the complex, dynamic, and often invisible layers below. The metaphor of the lid is scientifically precise. Imagine the ocean as a layered cocktail. The top layer, warmed by the sun, is light and buoyant. The deep ocean, away from the sun's reach, is cold, dense, and packed with salts and minerals. In a healthy system, wind and the Earth's rotation, via the Coriolis effect, create forces that churn these layers. This is the ocean's circulatory system. The most critical process is the upwelling I mentioned, but its counterpart, downwelling, is equally vital. Together, they form the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt, a global system of deep and surface currents that redistribute heat and nutrients around the entire planet. This conveyor belt is why Europe is habitable and why certain coasts teem with fish. Now here's where the calm blue sky becomes a sinister actor. Increased heat from global warming doesn't just make the top layer warmer, it makes it significantly less dense, strengthening the barrier between it and the cold, deep water. Think of adding a thick layer of foam to that cocktail it prevents mixing. Furthermore, the increased fresh water from melting polar ice caps and glaciers, particularly around Greenland and Antarctica, dilutes the saltiness of the surface water. Since salt increases water density, this freshening makes the surface water even lighter, further strengthening the lid. Peer-reviewed climate models, such as those assessed by the IPCC, consistently project a weakening of this global conveyor belt system, particularly the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, AMOC, by 20% to 40% by the end of the century under high-emission scenarios. Some recent observational studies suggest this weakening may already be underway. The consequences of a faltering ocean circulatory system are not marginal. They are continental in scale. It would lead to dramatic regional climate shifts, think intensified heat waves in the tropics, accelerated sea level rise along specific coastlines like the U.S. East Coast, and potentially drastic cooling in Western Europe. But for marine life, it's a catastrophe in slow motion. The nutrient lockdown means the base of the food web crumbles. Data from long-term oceanic monitoring stations, like the Hawaii Ocean Time Series, shows measurable declines in plankton biomass in stratified areas. This decline cascades upward. A study from the University of British Columbia projected that by 2100, the maximum body weight of fish could shrink by 14 to 24% globally due to reduced oxygen and nutrient availability from stratification and warming. We're not just talking about fewer fish, we're talking about fundamentally smaller, stunted fish populations. This impacts every fishing community, every coastal economy, and global food security for billions who rely on seafood as a primary protein source. And then there's the chemical dimension. A stratified ocean is also a more acidic and oxygen-depleted ocean at depth. The surface layer, now a separate entity, absorbs more of our atmospheric carbon dioxide, turning into carbonic acid. Without mixing, that acidic water isn't diluted. It sits and corrodes the calcium carbonate shells of creatures like oysters, clams, and microscopic foraminifera. Simultaneously, the isolated deep waters become dead zones as oxygen is consumed by bacteria and not replenished. The number of known oceanic dead zones has increased exponentially since the 1950s, from about 50 to over 700 today. So that calm surface is a mask. Underneath, the ocean is becoming hotter, more acidic, breathless, and starved of multi-stress assault on its very architecture. This isn't a future prediction for our grandchildren. The chemical and physical data collected by thousands of Argo floats drifting through the oceans confirm these changes are already measurable and accelerating. The ocean has a tremendous capacity to absorb punishment and hide it, which is why its surface can look so tranquil even as its internal systems are under profound stress. It's the ultimate poker face. But we are now reading its tale. The tell is in the satellite data showing rising sea surface temperatures. It's in the ship-based measurements showing decreasing pH. It's in the fishery catch data showing shifts in species distribution and declining yields in once rich areas. The calm blue sky, therefore, is part of the engine of this change, representing the increased solar energy being trapped by greenhouse gases, which heats the surface layer that then fails to mix. We are looking at a beautifully packaged feedback loop, where the visual result of the problem actively exacerbates the problem itself. To ignore the science of what lies beneath is to fundamentally misunderstand the crisis we are in. This layer cake of warming, freshening, and stratifying water is the new reality of our oceans, and its implications touch every aspect of life on Earth, from the weather patterns that dictate our agriculture to the very food on our plates. But if the situation is so dire, so complex, and so global, what on earth can any single one of us possibly do? This is the point where most people feel overwhelmed and switch off. The scale feels planetary. The culprits are faceless corporations and governments, and the solutions seem abstract or sacrificial. I want to completely reframe that. The path forward isn't about a few people doing sustainability perfectly. It's about billions of people doing it imperfectly, but consistently, with a focus on systemic leverage points. And it begins with understanding that saving the ocean is not about fixing the ocean in isolation. It's about fixing its connection to the atmosphere and the land. The ocean is the end point of everything we do on land. Every river, every runoff pipe, every ounce of carbon in the air eventually interacts with the sea. Therefore, our most powerful actions are upstream. Let's start with the most direct connection: carbon. Every single reduction in your carbon footprint is a direct act of ocean medicine. It reduces the warming that strengthens that surface lid and the acidification that dissolves shelled life. But forget just turning off lights. The data shows that your dietary choices have a carbon impact order of magnitudes greater. According to a comprehensive meta-analysis in Science, plant-based diets can reduce food-related greenhouse gas emissions by up to 73%. You don't have to go fully vegan. Simply adopting a flexitarian approach, dramatically reducing red meat and dairy consumption, can cut your food-related footprint in half. This isn't an opinion, it's a data point from life cycle assessments. When you choose a lentil curry over a beef burger, you are directly reducing demand for a sector, livestock, that is a lean driver of deforestation, which reduces the planet's carbon absorption capacity and of methane emissions, a potent greenhouse gas. You are voting for a less stratified ocean with your fork. Second, plastic pollution. A calm ocean surface can often be a collection point for microplastics. These aren't just aesthetic pollutants. They are toxic sponges, absorbing industrial chemicals like PCBs. They are ingested by plankton and fish, introducing toxins into the food web that ends up on our dinner plates. Furthermore, recent research indicates that microplastics may physically interfere with phytoplanktons' ability to photosynthesize and can even alter the water's surface tension, potentially affecting natural mixing processes. Reducing single-use plastic is a direct act of reducing ocean toxicity. Carry a bottle, a cup, a bag. It's basic, but cumulative. Third, and this is crucial, your voice as a citizen and consumer is more powerful than your voice as just a conscientious individual. Industries and politicians respond to pressure and market signals. When you choose sustainable seafood guided by apps like Seafood Watch, you tell the fishing industry what practices you value. When you support businesses committed to transparent, ocean-positive supply chains, you shift capital. When you talk about ocean acidification and stratification at your dinner table, you normalize these concepts. But most importantly, when you vote in local, regional, and national elections, you choose leaders who will implement policies that address the root causes. A rapid transition to renewable energy, investment in regenerative agriculture that draws down carbon, and the creation of robustly protected marine areas that build resilience. The data on marine protected areas, MPAs, is clear. Fully protected, No-take zones increase biodiversity by over 20% and biomass of species by over 600% on average, creating thriving hubs that can seed surrounding areas. They are the ICU for damaged ocean ecosystems. Advocating for the expansion of MPAs is a direct strategy to build pockets of health in a struggling system. Finally, support science and citizen science. Organizations that deploy ocean sensors, track fish populations, and monitor acidity need public support. You can even contribute data through programs that track marine debris or whale sightings. This creates a global monitoring network. The feeling of helplessness is the enemy. Action, any conscious, informed action, is the antidote. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Your choices ripple through the economic and social systems that drive the physical systems. The calm ocean needs noise, not noise pollution, but the noise of engaged, informed people demanding systemic change, making different choices, and recognizing that the blue part of our planet isn't just a view. It's the life support system, and we are all its crew. We move the Earth's chemistry to get into this mess. We have the collective capacity to move our economies and societies to get out of it. It starts by seeing that serene blue not as an escape from our problems, but as the very thing we are all collectively tasked with preserving. Let's zoom out further to a perspective that is both humbling and empowering. The ocean story is the story of resilience. It has survived asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, and mass extinctions. It is not fragile in the long arc of geologic time, but the life it supports our life. The current ecosystems, the coastal cities, the familiar climate is incredibly fragile and finely tuned. The changes we are driving are happening not over millennia, but over decades, outstripping the natural adaptive capacity of most species. This is the core of the crisis: pace, not possibility. The ocean will eventually recalibrate, but it may do so in a form that doesn't include thriving coral reefs, abundant fisheries, or stable coastlines. Our goal, then, is to protect the ocean we know and depend on. This requires understanding its incredible, innate healing power if given the chance. And here, we find the most hopeful data points. Take the example of the ozone hole. When science identified chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, as the cause, the world came together under the Montreal Protocol and phased them out. The ozone layer is now slowly healing. It's proof that global, science-based action works. For the ocean, look at the recovery of humpback whale populations after the international ban on commercial whaling. From a few thousand individuals, many populations have rebounded to near pre-whaling numbers. Whales are not just charismatic megafauna. They are ecosystem engineers. Their movement cycles nutrients vertically. Their iron-rich feces fertilize phytoplankton blooms. They are living, swimming agents of ocean mixing and productivity. Protecting them was an act of restoring ocean function. Another example, the partial recovery of the ozone layer has, according to recent studies, actually helped mitigate some Southern Ocean warming, a direct link between one global environmental treaty and ocean health. Or consider local victories when sewage was cleaned up in Boston Harbor and the Thames River. Marine life returned explosively when destructive trawling was banned in specific zones. Seafloor ecosystems regenerated. The data is clear: when pressure is removed, marine ecosystems can rebound with astonishing speed and vigor. The ocean has a memory of health. Our job is to relieve the pressures. The primary pressures are the big three: climate change, warming and acidification, overexploitation, overfishing, and pollution, nutrient runoff, plastics, chemicals. We've discussed climate. On overexploitation, the science of maximum sustainable yield is well established. Fishing at or below this level allows stocks to maintain themselves. Yet, according to the UNFL, over 1/3 of global fish stocks are currently overfished. The solution here is not necessarily eating no fish, but eating the right fish from well-managed stocks and supporting policies that end harmful subsidies that encourage overfishing. On pollution, the success story is nutrient runoff. The dead zones in the Gulf of Mexico and the Baltic Sea are largely caused by agricultural fertilizers washing down rivers. Precision agriculture, which applies fertilizer efficiently where and when crops need it, coupled with restoring wetlands that naturally filter runoff, can dramatically reduce this pollution. These are solvable engineering and policy challenges. The overarching concept is ocean literacy. The more people understand the ocean's true nature, not as a static blue painting, but as a dynamic, living, breathing engine, the more they will demand its protection. This is where every single one of us comes in. You are a node in a network. When you share a piece of ocean science, when you explain why that calm blue water might be a warning sign, when you choose a sustainable product, you send a signal through your social and economic network. You normalize a new relationship with the sea. The cumulative effect of millions of these signals is what changes culture, and culture ultimately changes policy and markets. We are in a race between the tipping points of degradation and the tipping points of societal transformation. The ocean's resilience is our ally, but it is not a given. It is a potential that we must activate through deliberate, collective, and intelligent action. The clear blue sky and calm seas should not be our enemy, they should be our goal. But as a sign of a balanced, mixed, and vibrant system, not a stratified, stagnant one, we can work towards a calm that signifies health, not stillness that signifies sickness. That is the nuance. The entire game is in that nuance. Recognizing the difference between the two states of calm is the first and most critical step towards becoming a generation that heals its relationship with the planet's blue heart. So where does this leave us? Right now, as you're listening to this, it leaves us at a decision point. You have been given a new lens through which to see the world's most iconic symbol of peace. That lens is powered by data, by oceanography, by the hard work of scientists on research vessels and in labs. You now know that the calm ocean is a complex, nuanced signal. You understand the physics of stratification, the biology of phytoplankton, chemistry of acidification, and the cascading impacts on food webs and climate. You are armed with the knowledge of leverage point, your plate, your plastics, your voice, your vote. You've seen proof of the ocean's resilience in whale comebacks and harbor cleanups. The information is no longer abstract, it's a concrete map of cause and effect, linking your actions on land to the fate of the deep blue. Now, knowledge without application is just trivia. And this is too important to be trivia. This is about the fundamental habitability of our planet for the civilization we have built. Therefore, I am going to give you a very specific, non-negotiable call to action. And I need you to commit to it before this video ends. Here's what I want you to do. First, within the next 24 hours, I want you to perform one single act of ocean connection. It could be as simple as looking up your local elected representative's stance on ocean protection policies or signing a petition for a robust marine protected area. It could be downloading the Seafood Watch app and using it on your next grocery trip. It could be committing to refuse a single-use plastic item you normally accept. Just one tangible act to solidify this connection in your mind. Second, I want you to become a translator. In the next week, have one conversation where you explain one concept from this video to someone else. Tell a friend why the ocean produces our oxygen. Explain to a family member what ocean stratification means. Share the fact that a calm, clear blue tropical sea can be a marine desert. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to pass on the lens. This is how movements grow through trusted, person-to-person transmission of powerful ideas. Third, and this is the long-term commitment, I want you to align one strand of your life more closely with being ocean positive. Pick one. Maybe it's committing to meatless Mondays to reduce your carbon footprint for the ocean's sake. Maybe it's switching to a bank or a superannuation fund that doesn't invest in fossil fuel expansion. Maybe it's volunteering once a quarter for a beach cleanup or a citizen science project. Choose one thread and weave it into the fabric of your life. Finally, and this is critical, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. Why? Because this isn't the end of the conversation, it's the very beginning. In the coming weeks, I will be diving deep into each of these solutions. I'll be profiling scientists on the front lines, breaking down specific policies, reviewing sustainable products, and showing you documentaries and books that will further your understanding. I will be your ongoing curator for credible, actionable, and hopeful information about our planet's oceans. By subscribing, you are not just supporting this channel. You are building a community of informed, empowered people who refuse to see the world superficially. You are joining a network that looks at a calm ocean and sees not just beauty, but a story, a warning, a patient, and a promise. You are deciding to stay engaged. The biggest threat to the ocean is not malice, it's apathy. It's the out of sight, out of mind mentality. By subscribing and engaging with this content, you are fighting that apathy directly. You are keeping the ocean in sight and in mind. So, let's build this together. Let's create a community that speaks for the silent depths. Let's be the generation that understood the whisper of the calm blue sea and responded not with passive admiration, but with intelligent, fierce, and compassionate action. The ocean's future, and by direct extension, our own, is not yet written. We hold the pen. Let's write a story of recovery, not loss. Of vibrant, mixing, life-filled waters, not stagnant, stratified ones. It starts with you. It starts right now. Do your one act in the next 24 hours. Have that one conversation. Make that one long-term choice. And subscribe to stay on this journey. Click the button, ring the bell, and let's get to work. The ocean is counting on us, and for the first time in human history, we are able to hear it call clearly. Let's answer it